Hats off. Hats off. A round of applause. I know he's not here, but he's probably watching from home. All right. Joining us next is a remote guest, Mr. Brent Zhu from UMEE.
And that's also one of the reasons I got into CØSMOS, because, during those proof of stake discussions, folks like Jay Kwan and Ethan Buckman were, talking about, how to implement proof of stake. Is actually from the CØSMOS folks that ideas like bonded validator sets and slashing conditions came around, and these were all in the early discussions. So this was what motivated me to look at the CØSMOS ecosystem and try to build out tools here. Prior to all this crypto stuff, I was in bond trading. So I traded MBS products on Wall Street. And I'd say that UMEE is kind of a amalgamation of these three areas. So, lots of, evolving DeFi concepts from Ethereum and other ecosystems, CØSMOS, proof of stake, and cross-chain, along with many concepts in the bond and debt world. One fun fact about me from my blockchain journey is that I found out about Bitcoin from one of my college classmates. So he was the co-founder of a major crypto exchange. So I graduated Duke University the same year as Fred Ersham. And the way we found out about Bitcoin was that he was giving Bitcoins out for free to his friends back in the early days, and we were just like, what is this stuff? Fast forward a few years, everything seemed to come out okay, and we're all building some really cool stuff. So I'll dive into UMEE. So UMEE is a cross-chain lending hub. We're bridging the debt markets to crypto, the debt markets to DeFi, and right now, debt markets are huge, but there's a lot of problems. There's a lot of legacy infrastructure that's built on more handshakes and promises, and not necessarily the right technological infrastructures. Another pillar of UMEE is that we're building a base layer lending protocol. So we want to be the infrastructure to support a lot of DeFi out there. And so based on this, we want to allow different applications to build on top of the UMEE lending hub, and essentially just facilitate more of this activity. And we have a major focus on cross-chain interoperability. So IBC is such a tremendous component of UMEE. We want to support all the assets out there. Additionally, we want to support EVM. So being able to integrate with sidechain architectures, layer 2 scaling solutions, and alternative base layer protocols are in the roadmap for this lending hub. So I'll talk a bit about the debt markets. $281 trillion of global debt out there. That's huge. But like I mentioned earlier, it's completely broken. Back in 2008, 2009, we saw close to $50 trillion of value just completely disappear based on this mortgage crisis. And this was due to faulty systems. This was due to inept technological platforms. This was due to human error, people lying about their mortgages, having a broken system that the financial ecosystem was built on. We think we can rebuild it. We think we can rebuild that entire market in DeFi and in crypto. And we'll start from the base layer. We'll start from things like repo rates. We'll start from things like short-term lending. We see it already today. So platforms like Compound and AAVE have already made tremendous strides in this space. MakerDAO has built solid foundations. And in many ways, I feel like protocols like UMEE are standing on the shoulders of giants. And there's already these strong algorithmic money markets out there. We want to improve upon that. We want to make things like term loans, so products like bills, notes, bonds. And so the way we see it is that similarly to how the global debt markets are put together today, we have many sovereign nations that are interconnected. For example, if the US was lending money to Japan, that debt would be based on the full faith and credit of the United States government, vice versa, the full faith and credit of the Japanese government. This applies to blockchains and blockchain ecosystems as well. Think about Uniswap as a sovereign ecosystem, SushiSwap, Yearn as a sovereign blockchain application, the Cosmos Hub, Terra, Cos, Osmosis, Solana, Polygon, Avalanche. These can all be sovereign blockchains, sovereign apps, and they can all have interrelated debt connections with each other the same way as nations do so, in the global debt markets. The only difference is that we'd be using advanced technological infrastructures to facilitate this, and this can be facilitated by DEXs, by OTC debt products, and this would perceivably be the future of how the world would be put together. In the future, validators will be able to get loans based off of their future proof of stake yield. Proof of stake in many ways can be a proxy for credit quality. Quality can also be determined on security practices or uptime of the validators themselves. Additionally, it's important to look at NFTs. So NFTs are great loan collateral. But when you think about loans, loans are actually very unique instances in time. So let's take an example from the real world. Like if General Electric wanted to issue 10-year debt, they want to issue like $1 billion in debt over 10 years. This would be like a GE 5.5 of 31. So a GE bond that pays a 5.5% semi-annual coupon that matures in 10 years. This is a very unique instance. And when you think about it, the NFT can be the collateral, but the loan itself can also be an NFT. And this is perfect. This is a perfect use case because these assets are refungible and they would essentially represent the next evolution of this evolving debt market. So in summary, we have this huge global debt market. We can rebuild it all in crypto and make it more efficient and make it more usable. So I'll dive into some of the fundamentals of UMEE. So first things first, we will allow CØSMOS IBC assets to be used as collateral to borrow things like stablecoins. So in addition to having this exist natively on CØSMOS, so leveraging CØSMOS Atom to borrow stablecoins on CØSMOS like US Terra, we will also allow the ability for CØSMOS assets to borrow ERC20 stablecoins on Ethereum, such as DAI, USDC, Tether. On the other side of the equation, those DAI, USC, and Tether depositors who are earning a lending rate on their stablecoins can concurrently borrow CØSMOS assets like Atom and stake it, and they can concurrently earn yield on both sides, on the lending rate as well as yields on the proof of stake rates, essentially compounding their yield. UMEE is supporting staking derivatives, so liquid staking products, essentially the ability to collateralize a staked atom and use that to borrow stablecoins. Perceivably, you can see a world where the interest rate from the borrowed stablecoin is actually paid using a proof of stake rate. This idea was actually further expounded upon yesterday. I believe during the osmosis talk, there was a discussion about being able to use LP tokens from an AMM pool, and to earn both the LP rewards from that AMM pool as well as the proof of stake yield from those tokens. What if you're able to take that and use it as collateral for borrowing and lending? And so the more you think about it, there's just tremendous amounts of innovation that can happen in this money Legos ecosystem, and it's all being built on Cosmos. So, we're really excited about that, and we're just happy to be contributing to it. So I'll talk a bit about, our incubation and strategic vision. We're making big bets into the future. So, we want to do put major efforts into combining proof of stake assets into DeFi. So, right now it's really hard for proof of stake yields to talk to DeFi yields, to talk to yield farming yields. It's all being built right now, but we want to make it seamless. We believe in just the capital efficiency and composability between these assets. We saw a great announcement from AAVE a few days ago about allowing these different protocols to talk to each other. The eventual goal of UMEE is really to be this universal world bank for DeFi products, something that different protocols can use to access leverage, to access lending, and the ultimate goal of UMEE really is to design incentives around more long-term investments. So, it's no secret that institutions are coming in. They want to see more sophisticated products. And, one thing is that we want to introduce the concept of duration into the crypto space, because duration is something that's, kind of missing, because everything's kind of short-term borrowing and lending at the moment, and we want to introduce these long-term components in the crypto space. So I'm going to be talking about something that I think is very important. So interest rates. So when people normally think of interest rates, they might get a little bit bored. They're like, why is this important? Interest rates are the most important thing in our economy. I'll tell you why. Because the real asset that we're allocating is something that fundamentally is universal to everything, universal to all investors, universal to all people, universal to all things. And that commodity is time. And the way that time is measured is using interest rates. So, Ray Dalio talks about governance, manipulating interest rates to like debase the currency. The thing is that interest rates are the only thing that are measurable for long amounts of times. And investors use an internal analysis based on time value to make educated guesses on where they view an investment to go towards. So when you think about it, every investor has a preference for time value, and you can consider this sort of a rate preference. So sophisticated investors, they base their decisions around their cost of capital. So a weighted average cost of capital, their cost of funds, and where they borrow at. Retail investors have a different internal preference rate. They might want to look for 90% APY. They want to chase trends to 2x to 5x. They're looking for, with the aggressive yield farming ecosystem, 1,000% APY. That's what, attract retail investors. And, there's not as much interest to like, put like, money in a 5% bond. You can also kind of juxtapose this to folks in like the poverty line. So the rate preference of someone in poverty would be negative. So they would actually prefer to have $1 today to buy food, as opposed to have like $1.50 tomorrow based on investments. This can be applied to things like pawn shops that charge really high APRs, or check cashing services where you can get afford on your weekly paycheck, so that you can afford food to survive. And when you look at the other extreme, this applies to hedge funds as well. Hedge funds have a rate preference where they might borrow from their prime brokers at Fed funds plus 10 basis points, and they invest in a strategy that earns Fed funds plus 50 basis points. VCs are similar. So they're charging a 2 and 20 fee, but with explicit mandates to get 1 out of 10 winners to earn 100x. So they're effectively borrowing money at like 1,000% interest over the lifetime of the fund. Everyone is sensitive to their own internal rate preference and their own measure of time value, and crypto is no different. So in crypto, someone would be happy to borrow stable coins at 15% interest if they could earn like a 200 to 500% gain in a certain time period. And altcoins have a rate preference and are carefully adjusting their emission rates based on this. And you can kind of think of it in terms of funding availability and time value of money. Right now, we see the Federal Reserve, they're dropping interest rates, everything's pumping, they're considering rising interest rates again. So here's the problem. Crypto doesn't have a real market for time value at the moment. Everything is benchmarked off of TradFi, and this is where we come in. So LIBOR. LIBOR is a benchmark rate. It backs, close to $500 trillion of financial contracts. It's slowly transitioning to a new rate called SOFR. But the point is that we're building the LIBOR for crypto. We want to build the risk-free rates for crypto assets, and we want to use proof of stake inflation as a proxy or as a measure of some of this opportunity costs. And based on this, we want to set a term structure of interest rates for the broader crypto ecosystem. And this would lead to something like a yield curve or a staking curve that represents time value in crypto. So, this is what I mean when I say that we want to build some of the foundational components for bridging the debt markets to the crypto ecosystem. I think I might be running short on time here, but I'll give a quick talk on interoperability. So this is such an important part of the ecosystem. So it's also a very important part of the UMEE roadmap for onboarding assets from all across the crypto ecosystem into this base layer lending protocol. One of the biggest takeaways I got from DevCon in Osaka is I put together a dinner. We got Zaki Mannion, Jay Kwan, Christopher Goes, Chango, myself. We sat down with Vitalik Buterin, Justin Drake, Danny Ryan, and we discussed IBC and Ethereum 2.0. And the biggest takeaway I got from that dinner is that IBC could be used as a cross-shard communication protocol for Ethereum 2.0. Christopher Goes gave a talk on this at ECC. This was actually right before COVID hit. And then Georgios from Paradigm tweeted about IBC being implemented in Solidity like a few months ago. And this was truly eye-opening to me because it showed that IBC as this layer 0 protocol can be universal. It can connect between ETH 2.0 shards, layer 2 scaling solutions like the Arbitrums, Optimism, and ZK Syncs of the world, sidechain architecture like Phantom, BSC, Polygon, XDAI, and alternative base layers like the Solanas and Polkadots of the world. And we see all of these assets interacting with each other in this connected global debt ecosystem. And this is just the kind of stuff that excites us. We think that this is sort of Metcalfe's law 2.0, where everything that connects to each other based on this standardized communication protocol, compounds in value based on just the different nodes in the ecosystem, and the value of the network can increase exponentially. So this is a major component of how we want to bridge the future of the debt markets into DeFi, and we think that it can happen with a lot of these fundamental layer protocols. So I want to give a quick shout out to our investors, supporters, and strategic partners out there. We're really happy for the support. We're really grateful, and yeah, thank you. I think that's my time. I don't know if I have time for questions, but yeah, thanks everyone. I wish I could be there in person this time. Thanks CryptoCito. Thanks DeFi Times. It was really, really great to be here.
I'm gonna go. Brent. Brent, thank you so much. And now another quick round of applause for Brent. All right, next up is a cosmonaut.